ist natürlich schwierig.
Ja, ich finde das auch interessant und mag das auch, aber ich finde, es ist halt ein bisschen müßig so, ne?
Also ich finde die Idee sehr interessant. Ich würde mich auch dafür interessieren, wenn es da was darüber zu lesen geben oder irgendwelche Theorien geben würde. Aber ich würde nicht sagen, dass ich wirklich daran glaube oder dass es möglich wäre, in irgendwelche Parallelwelten zu wechseln oder sowas in die Richtung.
Paralleldimensionen.
Dimensionen,
Also
genau.
sowas wie alternative Wirklichkeiten, ja.
Genau.
Nein.
Ja, doch, in meinem Kopf.
Tied my shoes for the first time when I was about 5 years old, 6 years old. My granddad taught me.
Ja, ich glaube, es war meine Kindergärtnerin, also meine Lehrerin im Kindergarten. Wahrscheinlich auch mit 5. Ja.
So string, you know, from musical instruments, right? A string instrument has a string, that's where it comes from. So my name is Stefan Förste. I'm a lecturer at Bonn University and doing research in string theory. I'm here since 2008. And in string theory, the string is much shorter, 10 to the minus 33 centimeters typically. And there can be so-called open strings and closed strings. So closed string is like a string in an instrument where you identify the ends of the string. So you sort of you put them together, and an open string is like a string in a violin. And the open string can also have freely moving ends or fixed ends. But that's about what a string is. Yeah.
Also wenn ich auch mit Kommilitonen oder anderen Freunden, wenn man so ins Gespräch kommt, fängt man auch schnell an zu philosophieren und über sowas nachzudenken.
In deinem Kopf?
Ja. Nein, ja, ich glaube schon, dass es das gibt.
Also eigentlich eine Menge. Macht viel Spaß, darüber zu diskutieren. Vor allem, weil es auch oft verschiedene Seiten gibt, die verschiedene Stellungen vertreten. Und dementsprechend kann man da sehr gut drüber reden und auch philosophieren. Das macht schon viel Spaß.
Warum glaubst du das?
Ja, ich glaube, dass die Wirklichkeit in Möglichkeit und Realität zerfällt sozusagen. Und dass es andere mögliche Welten gibt, von denen sich aber jeweils nur eine realisiert.
Originally, string theory was thought to describe hadronic resonances. So what nowadays is done by QCD, the strong interactions. And there the observation was that when you looked at hadron spectra, you could see certain relations between spin and mass of resonances. And these are actually also these linear relations which were observed then are also reproduced by these vibration modes of the string. That's how they were invented first, or how they came into life. But then actually quantum chromodynamics was much more efficient in describing strong interactions. But then people discovered that string theory actually can discuss quantum gravity.
I would like to say, one of the most important things in this guess, compute, consequences, compare experiment business is to know when you're right. It is possible to know when you're right way ahead of computing all the consequences. I mean, of checking all the consequences. You can recognize truth by a beauty and simplicity. It's always easy when you've got the right guess and make 2 or 3 little calculations to make sure it isn't obviously wrong, to know that it's right. When you get it right, it's obvious that it's right, at least if you have any experience.
Yeah, so maybe for that it's best I draw a Feynman diagram, and then I can try to explain. There are lots of Feynman diagrams, of course, but maybe one of the most common Feynman diagrams to draw is like this. So there are these solid lines with an arrow are electrons, and time runs from left to right here. So here you would imagine that there are 2 electrons coming in from the left, then they exchange a photon, and then they go out to the right. And via exchanging the photon, they can change, for example, their direction. They can scatter at each other.
Also ich denke tatsächlich nicht, dass es wirklich höhere Dimensionen gibt. Also ich bin tatsächlich der Ansicht, dass sowas wie Schicksalsfügung existiert oder dass das Schicksal irgendwie eine Rolle spielt und dass das vielleicht auch beeinflusst wird, aber so richtig an höhere Dimensionen glaube ich tatsächlich nicht.
Also ich glaube bestimmt, dass es über die 3. Dimension hinaus noch andere Dimensionen gibt. Also ich könnte mir als 4. Dimension die Zeit vorstellen. Darüber hinaus wahrscheinlich noch andere, die ich aber nicht so erklären kann.
That depends. I mean, there's like now we are coming to the concept of D-branes. So the open string can end on hyperplanes. So it lives in a certain number of dimensions, and the end can move freely in a certain number of directions, but can be fixed in another direction. So let's say the end of the string can move up and down, and back and forth, but not left-right. When I started to do string theory as a student, I found it contradictory that you do the theory of everything and then you find it lives in 10 dimensions, because we observe 3 + 1 dimensions, but then you can compactify 6 dimensions and you are safe again. But I thought that it's sort of ugly. You get something in higher dimensions and then you do something to fix it.
What we need is imagination, but imagination in a terrible straitjacket. We have to find a new view of the world that has to agree with everything that's known, but disagree in its predictions somewhere, otherwise it's not interesting. And in that disagreement, agree with nature. If you can find any other view of the world which agrees over the entire range where things have already been observed, but disagrees somewhere else, you've made a great discovery. Even if it doesn't agree with nature, it's darn hard. It's almost impossible. Not quite impossible. to find another theory which agrees with experiments over the entire range in which the old theories have been checked, and yet gives a different consequences in some other range. In other words, a new idea is extremely difficult, takes a fantastic imagination.
Ich glaube, dass es darüber hinaus noch was gibt, aber ich habe keine Vorstellung, wie das aussehen könnte, weil sich das einfach der Vorstellung dessen, was ich so irgendwie in Naturwissenschaften nur so gelernt habe, entzieht. Das sind einfach so vielleicht so Formen, Räume, wie andere Leute sie bei Religion, beim Glauben oder so sehen, wo ich keine Vorstellung habe. Das ist für mich Black Box, aber scheint es zu geben, glaube ich.
And history or political expediency and so forth, which is a series of concepts that we use to understand things at an ever higher level. And going on, we come to things like evil and beauty and hope. Now, which end is nearer to the ultimate creator or the ultimate? So if I make a religious metaphor, which end is nearer to God? Beauty and hope, or the fundamental laws?
Yeah, I mean that thought. I found it fascinating that you are very, very close to the absolute knowledge or whatever. Yeah, so you know how the world works, sort of. I mean that's what motivated me to go into particle physics, and then my supervisor was doing string theory, and sort of I liked the idea, and that's how I got into it. So to learn how the world works, or if you want, I mean, it's not meant as a religious statement. If you want to know almost as much as God knows, but more in a